Mistform left over here, but he's going to need a huge refresher here.
You guys saw Minish get cleaned up. I'm not quite sure, but that's the team I know that has the Wanderer's Medallion up above. Is just trying to get anything that he can. That's 4 break, only 30, but at least it's something for him to work with as he's just lurking around, trying to catch somebody off guard. He needs an elimination here for the resources, for the heals, for the materials, for his tournament life, but he's into the top 14. Only 2 teams have fallen. Now a third as we get into the top 13. The superhero rank upgrade. That is what he needed.
Yeah, that's the heals that are going to start ticking in over time, and now just waiting for that Mistform. The name of the game is to stay alive here, earn as much placement points as possible, and he is doing just that so far. 13th place so far. Eyes on the prize here. Cold moving base to base here, just on the outskirts. The rotates are almost perfect as no one has found him out. Finally now, a little bit of pressure comes in, but this couldn't get better for him as going through these builds, right? He's got plenty of spaces to lurk and hide from, but no! Shots come in! He finds the Elim with a quick turn and burn, and talk about clutching up here when it matters.
There's always a moment like that in every major, and Cold in Game 3 has just captured that moment into the top 12. I talk about clutch points, those are the ones, but the handoff from the Medallion, from Minish to Braids, he made sure that did not change hands in terms of overall teams, and now Braids is trying to run away with it, gets to the front side of zone, creating space for him and his teammates. They are stuck as a duo in a world full of trios.
G-Money, Rise, and Aviv also now getting active here on the mid-ground layer. They have choices to make. Do they go for height? Do they fight down low, try to get some material count to turn this fight around? We'll have to see, but Muzz, Sphinx's Shadow are cooking up as well here. 10 Elims now as they start to ride this coaster to the top.
Just trying to go unnoticed because they know high ground is pressuring second height, and right now that's Uga, that's Threats, that's Sprays. They're garnering a lot of that attention, being the front side of the zone. Muzz, Shadow, Sphinx, they're using that as a distraction to rotate themselves, and they get in front of Cam, Soneto, and Osin, and now they're trying to put the pressure onto them, forcing them outside of the zone, forcing them inside of the box. Cam goes for an all-or-nothing play. He's able to get the knock onto one, but he goes down as well.
Oh, the finish there on the Sphinx, too, leaving it down to just a 2-man operation here from Muzz and Shadow as they're kind of putting themselves back into the race here. But Bolts, Rapid, and Kanata can absolutely use this top 10 here. That's going to go in and give them a chance for a 3rd place, maybe even a 2nd place seat here on the overall standings, but they still have a ways to go. Booga, Crazy, and Threats, though, fighting for it as well, but they're starting to gas out, running low on material. Muzz's got them on their sights here. They can still do some big plays here. They want to cap off before this last and final engagement.
Yeah, but this is where it gets tough. Everybody's jam-packed like a can of sardines, close to one another. Booga gets one onto Aviv, but goes down shortly after. Muzz staying in the zone, but he's getting chunked out. He gets the elimination onto Booga just in time to save his life inside of the zone, but they are stuck. There's so many builds all around. They're trying to find the way out, but they might get denied, but no, Muzz does. Literally a sliver of HP. He survives.
Couldn't imagine the comms there. Shadow to go ahead and find a way out. Muzz to somehow follow through there, and although he falls, he has done so much here to earn himself so many points for his trio. Bolts, Rapid, Kanata. The refresh, though, is going to be very much welcome. They have a lot to work for, but it's going back over the builds. That means that it is not a free endgame here. Bolts still fighting for it, though. He doesn't want to give anyone a chance to go ahead and stop and heal. Rapid's gonna fall. Kanata's up top trying to play the heal off here. Braids escapes out with the Mistform here, but it's gonna come down to the tag. Bolts falls to the Zorm there. Braids doesn't get it. Kanata wins in the end, though, because the Mist was there to keep him in the game.
And they keep the trend of double-digit elimination wins alive. That is an 11 elimination victory royale game, and it kind of goes in tide with what they've been doing so far. Game 1, 8th place. Game 2, 3rd place. And now Game 3, they got that 1st place locked up.
People forget, Kanata is a competitor at heart, and when he's fired up and he shows up, he puts in the big numbers. But you know what? Bolts and Rapid, too. Talk about a team that has been slept on, right? These guys coming from West Region to NA Central now, just putting up the numbers amongst the best of the best, and they're doing it in excellent fashion here. What a victory royale now for Rapid, Kanata, and Bolts to go ahead and solidify themselves a victory here on the day, Zeke. Kanata! Kanata! Let's go! Oh my God! A victory royale from
from the boy from Canada in game number 3. Guys, we just sat there in the back watching this game, okay? And the moment we realize that they're on height and 8, right? And then the zone is like, oh man, look at all these nice little triple tarp metal builds. What if I just went back over it? And they're like, okay, like, all right, first pull, that's fine. The zone's like, what if I did it again though? It's like, what do you mean? These guys had height on lock. And while everyone else is just desperately down low, trying to find some kind of peace in this storm, Kelly, they're just up there like, oh, we're just gonna go builds over our builds a third time? Yeah, that sounds good. We'll go ahead and get a VR. Thank you.
They were in 5th place after game number 2, and we saw some of our big teams, first and second, going down early there. I know after that game that they're going to be shooting up the leaderboard, and although Kanata and Rapid played that game, played high ground so perfectly, I have to give a shout out to Bolts. His ability to leave the rest of his team, go into low ground, and still somehow have no one look at him, no one even attempt to get an elim on him. He is just him. Bolts, time and time again, can show that he is ready for the grand finals and wants to get his team not just a ticket to the global championships, but he wants to get them that first place spot.
Yeah, I mean, this high ground play, it's all made available by the fact that this trio went ahead and took out Clix' trio, right? Clix and Iamzo go down. A little bit of struggle with the Storm Surge right there, so the eliminations were picked up by Kanata, Bolts, and Rapid. Of course, when you go ahead and pick up those eliminations, you're going to get the refreshes from another stack trio, right? Another good trio who's, of course, going to have some things for you to work with, right? So they just have so many materials, and it's so funny, right? Because we're watching the game happen, and it's like, how were they just tarping with all of this metal? Well, that's because they just had all of the materials that they needed from picking up another one of our top trios right there. And man, let me tell you something. Game number 3, Major 3 in 2025, that one might need to go down in the history books because the implications on the leaderboard, Zeke, I don't even know.
Bro, we know what the leaderboard looks like, but Fortnite fam, gotta go to break. I know, it's fine. When we return, we take a look at the standings because, as Vivid said, the implications here are crazy. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the FNCS. Game number 3, Kanata Rapid Bulls get a victory royale with 11 eliminations. And as Vivid said right before the break, the implications alone on these standings, very, very crazy. Because we do have to remind ourselves, Agers, Acorn, and Poyo went into that game in first place, right, by a pretty big margin. But them falling mad early means everyone else in the lobby can now try and close the gap and take a look. By 1 point, that game puts Kanata Rapid and Bolt in first place. Let's go, dude!
I mean, I know that Agers, Acorn, and Poyo went down early, but I did not expect Rapid, Kanata, and Bolt to go from 5th place into 1st. That has to be one of the biggest jumps, and I'm getting excited. This is still early. This is the halfway point for day 1, but that is crazy. That can just show you how things can get so shooken up here. And Visuals, Grades, and Diminished, another trio that has jumped up their leaderboard, currently sitting in 4th place. So many people need to put more respect onto this trio, because time and time again, we see them make it to the end game. Consistency is the name of the game for this trio. And regardless of if they're able to get that big spire, if they're in the front of zone, they are able to just get so many good plays in these end games.
I mean, yeah, honestly, Diminished, Braids, and Visuals, it's like they're playing like the cleanest Fortnite out of anybody right now. There's nothing crazy going on from this trio, right? They're not playing for the high ground. They're not popping off with eliminations. They are just consistently finding themselves in the end game. And it's like almost every single time we do one of those like drone shots where we're looking at the entirety of the end game. It's like, wow, Visuals, Braids, and Diminished, they're in like the best spot right now in the end game. They're just playing super, super clean Fortnite.
And the fact that they have Medallion in hand, right? That just amps them up in that mid game. Dude, so well executed. But another trio. We can't not talk about Muzz, Sphinx, and Shadow. What the heck were they doing this game, bro? Muzz was on a completely different level. They end that game 4th place, 13 eliminations. Oh my God, Muzz. This is what I want to see from you, dude. It's so good.
This is what we all wanted to see out of this trio. A little bit of a slow start, starting up with 18th place, then getting 11th, but jumping up that placement. Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx with so many eliminations. I love to see it. This is the Muzz that we know, but can he replicate that over the next 3 games today?
I mean, even being contested on spawn, right? I think if we were to start a stopwatch from when all 3 of them landed to face the other 3, it was like, felt like 7 seconds and the whole trio was wiped. Finding those early eliminations was key for this trio for sure.
Talk about early elims, guys. Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual going down a little too early, right? Once again, we find ourselves in a solo clutch situation. Still, though, 12th place rather, with 7 eliminations. Even in a situation where Cold is put to solo clutch. I love that any one of these members, if they're put in that situation, they'll still clutch, right? So they're still hanging on to that 3rd place.
No, it's always usually the Peterbot show. When everyone talks about the trio, they literally just call Peterbot as a whole. But Cold, there is a reason why people regarded him as one of the best players for the last 2-3 years now. And to see him be put into a solo like consideration and still be able to pull out those plays, that's why Peterbot picked him up at the start of the year, right? He's one of the best.
Oh my gosh. Guys, I want to talk more about so much, but we have to go back in the game, okay? Game number 4 is ready for us. This is now the halfway point, okay? 3 games left to go before we wrap up day number 1. So, casters, take it away.
Can you believe a 60 or so point lead going into that game? Monster has just vanished. Now it's Kanata, Rapid, and Bolts at the top spot with a 1-point lead going into game 4.
Yeah, you know what? Cold could have actually gone a little bit further, but you saw Storm Sickness kicking in at the end there, really putting things into perspective of how these early game kind of sitting in the zone, taking fights can work against you in the long run. So with game number 4 here, let's see how players start to adapt. Jacob, is it heads or tails on whether or not Acorn's going to be contested? What do you think here as game 4 kicks off?
I think at least one. There's no way 4, 5, 6 teams, half the lobby, all landed over and around Demon's domain and kind of call it quits in game number 4. I feel like it's worth the risk, especially for the team that did take them down.
Yeah, and then think about how other teams got to actually play with Demon's Domain, loot, territory, medallion, right? Everything that comes from the drop in their inventory, clearly it allowed even teams like Visuals Embrace to go and take it very, very far. But what a start to the tournament series here today. It seems like Ager's Acorn gets to breathe to see another day. Pollo here kind of easing up. I'm sure relaxation almost feels like it's kicking in, but they know now that they have to stay absolutely on their P's and Q's here. They got to loot quick and move quick.
Yeah, it's almost like every game they have to play like they are going to be contested right out of the drop. Once they see it's clear, send Acorn to kind of loot the outskirts. They loot the main building. Skittles, first one down. I think it might have been Shadow landing up there on the high ground, able to get the first knock, but he's taken damage by Bryce, the lone soldier on that side of things. And so now Shadow has the luxury to kind of wait for his teammates to come by, wait for his teammates to kind of lock in on this location and clean it up. Bryce is now out of everything. No bigs that are left. He has no small ammo. He is going for the revive onto Skittles, and I do think he is going to be able to get this one off. But what do you have to fight with?
Yeah, absolutely nothing. I'm also trying to just figure out how does Shadow touch down so fast before his own teammates even get there. So clearly he is way ahead of the drop right now as far as how this all worked out. But Bryce picks up Skittles here, forced to kind of retreat now with really little to nothing. But we all know this team's going to be trying to seal the deal here. There's no reason for them not to, right? They absolutely want these points. More importantly, you want to force them out the drop. See if you can get them to change the strategy. And then that way they can actually run away with the tournament here. Because very clearly, if Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx get their kind of early game going and get past the mid game, they are great in the end game. 13 elims in that last round is an absolute monstrous round of Fortnite.
Yeah, it's kind of game-changing there if you're able to get into double digits, but on over to the outpost, something that we haven't seen for the first couple games so far. G-Money, Rise, and Aviv going to be contested by Curve, Josh, and Tyler. And this is honestly something before this major got a round of fight that we all thought we were going to see. Curve and them chose to kind of go elsewhere. Flooded Frogs without Muzz in the grand finals, having to go to LCQ. They said, hey, might as well go up there. Muzz qualifies, said, uh-oh, things have to change yet again. They go to the first order base. They don't like it there. Triple contested, and now they find themselves at the outpost fighting for their lives. Good damage onto G-Money, but a 3v1. Curve gets taken down to the full trio wiped off the map.
Yeah, this has been going very well for G-Money, Aviv, and Rise so far. 160 points now as they get just delivered 3 eliminations there, and that's going to put them right up in contention with Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx. That's what you want, right? If you are just clearly outclassing, your opponents on the drop time and time again, it's such a catalyst, right, for your tournament position. Talk about looking for a catalyst, though. Pigsy, Hamza, and Clicks almost seem like they're trying to make up for lost time here, rotating fast into the pump power. Not looking to give Cam Trio time to breathe.
Even trying to sneaky angle on the Sonetto. That one's going to be given up. Can still fighting for that piece control on back, and what a change-up of game. They've just been getting more and more aggressive. Clicks, Hamza, and Higgs each and every game that does pass by. That storm surge that we thought we were going to see from the whole north side of the map, there was a whole wrench in that game plan. Reeds on the hunt, Muzz on the hunt, Clixiamzo Higgs now forced to fight box to box. Green shades of Majors 1 and 2 back for the teams that do land on this side of the map, just kind of giving a little bit of risk-reward scenario. And that's it right before our very eyes. Yamzo is going to be the first one dropped out of this fight.
Definitely a tough position to be in now. They took the risk to come here and take the fight, but Sonetto, Cam, and Sid, they're not a team that's on, 0 points, right? They're at 96 points. They've been having quite the tournament day in the race for a top 10, but Higgs now kind of call out of position there, forced to miss form. Clicks playing the distance shots, but look at Sonetto. Quick to tag here, not looking to breathe or allow Higgs to get a moment there. And he cuts him off again. And they are just playing really good Fortnite here. And this might be the first mistake we see come out of Clix's trio.
Yeah, and almost by the looks of it, Higgs just down below, not even building to protect himself. He was probably out of materials overall. We're seeing how they got the drop onto Yamzo. He kind of played back, tried to go ahead and heal, but the wood build. Sonetto just melted through those with their Spire, gets that first knock. Clicks disengaged. They all played as individuals, and now Clicks kind of stuck by himself. Did I see Acorn, Pollo, Agers, Cold, Ritual, And Peterbot, they know Agers, Acorn, and Pollo love to go for this island. Them out of the game means Visual Braids and Minish were able to get it last game, but this is a new game with them alive. They are going for the lurk. They're trying to take down second place.
Leave it up to Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold to be the type of team that will do what it takes to take home the entire tournament. They're doing it here and now. They did it last season in Major 2. It is just time and time again playing out before us, and you really get to see that championship mentality from Peterbot, who kind of leads this trio. Acorn, Pollo, and Agers likely have no idea what's coming after them right now, so they have to be absolutely cautious here before they go up for high ground. The moment they go up, I think we're going to see Peter's team follow right behind them.
I already heard one rift kind of go off. I want to imagine that's Agers, that's Pollo. Yep, you see them immediately start that boss, the medallion. It's moving on the island. You see it in the minimap. It's a Cold, Ritual, Peterbot not necessarily making their move now. And I kind of think maybe it's due to how they spread out to get Storm Surge after they get the island. Only time will tell how this one continues to roll out at Foxy Floodgates when we tune back in later.
Yeah, I'm thinking they're going to wait for the engagement to kind of kick off, wait until things get a little scrappy, you know, and then boom, before you know it, a fight's going to break out. We keep in close tabs on that. Before we get back there, though, King, Phaser, PH in, kind of mixing things up here. Playing the Surge Mountains, looking to see if they can exchange with anyone here in the distance. Seems like King isn't getting too lucky so far. Meanwhile, inside the storm, Shadow, Sphinx, Muzz doing exactly what they do best. That's running through Dash's trio once again right now, coming out on top. They are down 4 for 4 game after game, whether it be pushing them out of the drop or winning it outright, just in the lead. Cooper's trio, though, getting closer and closer here. Look at that. Find Bryce as well. Oh, Cooper's team's coming in, though.
Could be all right between these two. Shadow, Muzz, Sphinx kind of stuck underneath. They finished up that elimination, but basically gave away their position to Curly Cooper and Beat, positioned up above, just spraying down. Gets a little tricky here with that kind of elemental house that's already there, the environment where they can hide in, not really waste materials, not really give up too much of their location. So Reek, Cooper, and Curly are really going to have to start to make that decision. Do we stay here? Do we hunt them with the zone pushing away? They might have to start thinking about that instead.
Craziest part is that if Muzz's trio just decided to pounce on them, they were so lit up just from the storm, right? Like, kind of traversing the territory here. And even now, they haven't stopped to go ahead and med kit up. So I wonder if they're going to go for just a late med miss. Shadow, Muzz, and Sphinx, though, want nothing to do with this. They have a long way to the storm as well. So it's right about the right time to go and get out of the storm here.
Yeah, just like last game, they're going back on over to their POI. They did take some damage. You see HP is missing, so they know where the scraps is at the resistance base. You saw the bunker underneath. They got at least one superhero rank upgrade already, so there could be a chest to unlock underneath. As we tune back in to Clicks, he was able to get Yamzo back up into the game. No word on Higgs just yet. Maybe having to venture on over, get the reboot card, playing as safe as possible, and try to get that second chance. But the biggest downfall of it all, even though they are going to get the reboots, is the damage that they accumulated for Storm Surge out the window.
They're going to be so far behind, like, probably the last team in the lobby. They'll be the last team as far as overall damage is concerned so far. Scuffies, Monty, and Coldo not looking too good for this team as they kind of get a little bit of an exchange. Seems like they managed to buy themselves some time, but the other team also resets here, so not rewarded with any points. This is going to be a full-out dud. Meanwhile, we knew it was going to happen. Just give it a little bit of time. Cold, Ritual, and Peterbot seem to successfully ambush Acorn's trio here.
Yeah, they did get the elimination onto Acorn as well, so they do have a numbers advantage here deep into the zone. Agers on the other side. Cold just making sure to stay with the rest of his team, and now they have their eyes set on Pollo up above, 3v1, but Pollo, he knows not to stay too long in that position, drops down a few layers, but he's quickly getting chased around. Luckily, he was able to hide where he's at just a little bit, reunite with Agers, making Cold, Ritual, and Peterbot kind of second guess what they're doing here.
And you got to think about it. One mistake, and Pollo's going to chew you up and spit you out, and it'll be a 2v2 before you know it. Peterbot goes toe-to-toe with them. They go for the breakout. Tries to miss form around, cuts off Adrian's here. And this is high-level gunplay at work. Peterbot known best to just hold his shotgun, track you through the walls. But other teams are putting in their attention to the matter here too. And look, this is what we talk about. All of a sudden now, they're forced to kind of reset here.
Yeah, and those visuals, Braids in a minute. They were the ones that got the island last game. They say, you know what? You can have it. They had no idea this would play out the way it did, but that's allowing them to continue to accumulate that Storm Surge, focus on this one fight, and really distract and disrupt it as Pollo goes down next. They're able to steal away the medallion, the Mythic Spire Rifle, and now they have the choice. Do we chase Agers, get that third elimination? And it does look like that answer is instantaneous. Cold wants a piece of that pie. Look at that.
Just going straight after it. Peterbot's there to catch him, though. And in the spider's web they go to be devoured here. Peterbot, Ritual Cold take down their immediate competition. It makes you wonder who's next, Kanata, right? They might just come after you, too. Here's the setup, though. My gosh. Read like a book. Acorn comes right into the facility. They knew he'd come here for metal, and it was all she wrote.
I wonder how long overall. How long? Because they got there quick from brutal boxcars. They hid in there. They didn't really have resources, a ton of materials. They were trying to farm underneath, but they knew they had to stay quiet. That's one of those long games that played off perfectly for them because they got one of the dangerous teams out of the lobby. They get their Demon's Domain loot back, even though they no longer land over there. This is looking like one of the same song and dances we've seen in Tournament Past.
Just also, you really think about it, like, this is what preparation looks like. You may think they're not watching your VODs. You may think they're not doing the research on you for when the time comes, if they have to go ahead and, you know, pull that play out the hat, if you will. And just like that, they were very much prepared here. And that's 2 games in a row. That's going to just straight destroy the momentum Acorn's trio was building up, right? So that's something else to consider. Here's a real fight, though. Iamzo, Higgs, Clicks here. They have so much to worry about. They need a lot of damage.
Yeah, luckily for them, somebody rotated over towards Supernova. It's given them an opportunity. Whether they wanted this right here and now might be another question, but regardless, Higgs is able to get that first one onto Preston, starting to build up the Storm Surge that they lost going down, forced to be revived, but Clicks is getting aggressive, continuing to put shots down. Gray feels the pain. Core's just trying to disengage, but they have all angles surrounded from one to the next. They end up in the same box. Gray goes down. Number 2 has been achieved. They waste no time even cleaning it up. They try to help Iamzo, but he doesn't need it. The full trio is down and out. Clicks, Iamzo, and Higgs got the damage they lost.
I was going to say, it was almost favorable that that team just med-missed and kind of reset. They needed to just milk that damage. They need as much as possible here. Iamzo, Clicks, Higgs. Luckily, this game's off to extremely fast pace, right? As teams have kind of got their groove going and geared in, and you see what teams like Peterbot are kind of making happen here on the lobby. So no surge warnings just yet. That even in itself would be a little bit of a sigh of relief, right? More time to kind of play catch up here. For Vive Rise and G Money, though, winning their early drop. Again, no pressure from the surge has just allowed them to go ahead and play very comfortably and kind of stick to the script here.
Yeah, them being contested, which normally some people kind of look at it as like a death sentence of sorts. Them, they kind of look at it as just a different opportunity. Get the early surge, do exactly what you said, opens up the flexibility. And this is kind of the same path they took in the last game, even though it's a little bit of a different zone. Because of the bunker, there's extra heals underneath if you have the superhero rank upgrade, and you can use that rift. Depending on where the zone goes, depends on how safe it actually is, but more times than not, we see teams wait until the last possible moment, drop a Medma smoke, heal up, and then travel through the zone where everybody else has it cleared out.
I was going to say, it's probably almost, you know, perfect for G Money's team that they get hero rank A off the drop. Because the elims, but then just the way they play it out with the spires and whatnot in the vicinity. So that's actually a little bit of a game changer for them in its own. So keep tabs on them to see how consistent they can be. The overall standings there, though, as you can see, Acorn is not in this game here in game number 4. Now back-to-back early elims. Meanwhile, Seek, Joji, and Donnie, what can they do here?
131 points, not too far gone. You have enough time inside of the top 10. Continue to try to close that gap because you're not going to win the tournament here on day one. There's only 6 games here, 6 games tomorrow. You just want to put yourself as high up to that first place spot on the leaderboard as possible. Keep the gap as respectably close as you can, so that way tomorrow you're not having to force all-out elimination top placing games. You can kind of play slow and steady to try to win that race, and that's what you're seeing across the map. The gameplay kind of change from a lot of these surge bases towards the north to just a little bit more aggression early on.
Blake, Oliver, OG, Diego, a little bit of a mountain position right here. Kind of fish for tags. Oliver, OG, solidifying the resource, getting them back in the game, and they've kind of found themselves their new position. Off to a great start for them right now. 750 above is an excellent position to be in right now in zone number 5. Look at this, Chimps trio rotating on the outskirts as well. We might get a little bit of a clash to happen here shortly. Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual double back to this island. They got Muzz's team underneath them. Clix's trio on the move right now. They just can't seem to catch a break away from these top dogs, essentially.
You're seeing like a whole night and day difference. 1,000 damage above the threshold. Peterbot with his medallions, landing shots, 150 plus damage in mere seconds across the map. Just kind of closing down every opportunity every other team has and starting to build that confidence. I'm not sure if that one is going to be in the zone either. I think that one's just off the edge. They're going to have to start to rotate in eventually.
Lex slow lurking right now. They see the team here. This is perfect. They wait for them to get on the zip line, target the one in the back, and a full elim, instant misform in. Players now caught and eliminated there. More points for them from well behind to 1,200 above, by the way, Jacob. I don't know if you caught the glimpse right there, but they are back like they never left.
That's what you like to see with teams like this, you know, taking control of their own destiny. Mistakes will happen. I doubt anybody can ever say they've played absolutely perfect in a tournament before. It's only how you bounce back from situations like that, and they did more than just bounce back, because they're also at 185 points, keeping it close in contention with the top side of the leaderboard. Game number 4 here. This is where you start to close out the day, and kind of where you finish kind of dictates the amount of confidence you have going into day 2 tomorrow.
Look at that, taking no risk. They're going to misform up and over as well. You see what happens when you take a zip line. You never really know. Sphinx, Shadow, and Muzz. I like this positioning. Don't like what I'm seeing with the overall damage. Muzz here to go to make up, starting to pad the meters here. This is the make or break exchanges that are really separate you. That'll haunt you if you don't find them, because things will turn before you recognize. Up though. A lot of shots coming in here. This is an excellent opportunity for them right now. Ooh, Clix's trio jumping on this as well. Not that they need to take that fight though. They want a position possibly for elims here.
On one hand, that's like 4 eliminations, 52 below the damage threshold for Mudge, Shadow, and Sphinx. But then I start to think about those exact eliminations. Those are a contested fight. There's no shields off the drop, 300 damage. Yeah, they might have got another elimination after that, but very, very similar scenario on to Bryce, where he had no HP, he had no shields. So don't let those 4 eliminations fool you. They have not been able to get a ton of damage. Even Reed Cooper and Curly rotating away, denying some opportunities there as Clix Yamzo Higgs getting pressured from up above. Muzz we were just looking at, but Sonetto and Cam right across as well. They let their position be known, and they're the ones outside of the zone. That's not the right move for them, but so far it has slowed down, and they will get a chance to try to rotate out, but it's a relatively low chance because Sonetto goes down to Clix as he tries to rotate out.
And once we jumped over, Batman Joe was rotating through and somehow landed right into Shadow's domain. And he cleaned up that elimination immediately. That was about 100 to 200 damage. That was absolutely welcomed for this trio right here. Now the Booga's team's got their eyes on the Sphinx here, who's kind of leading to rotate at the moment. But the South Pool is going to force everyone out pretty early here. Peterbot not looking to take any contested battles at the moment. They just want to get to safety here. And
they're decently well connected because of Visual's Braids and Minish underneath. And then they kind of reconnect on the way there. That's Ritual, that's Cold, making sure to use the extra resources they have to make sure that their position is going to be secured. Just on the edge of zone, though, that's the biggest thing to take note of. Every other team, like Muzz, like Clicks, even Slepsy up there, just going to have to rotate in that direction. And it's not going to be easy, because you can already see Muzz is already trying to hold one team out. Now imagine the cascading effect from here on out.
And the misform starting to run low here. Shadow, Muzz, and Sphinx. Shadow's just got one here. That's not the optimal situation you want to be in the end game here. Muzz does as well. Yeah, so this entire team's really leveraged their misforms heavily to make it to end game. But you know what? This is where they shine best. It's getting past the mid game that we've seen Muzz's team almost struggle with season to season, but we haven't seen them in a better position on NA than we have right now. So very cool to see Muzz kind of find his true form here late into the year. Look at the wide shot, though. No easy choices here for any of the teams. You got Clicks on the other side of the wall. A Minish's trio there. Peterbot right up top. And the zone's going to pull straight eastern, so they all got to move.
Yeah, and it's starting to look kind of frightening when it comes to the zone. We're getting closer and closer to those mountain ranges as Muzz landing a couple of crucial shots, almost getting the knock all the way across. Obviously wouldn't have been able to push over and get the elimination, but you're seeing the difference in their Storm Surge threshold, 363 above, feeling more and more confident here as the game does go on. And that's a huge change, because this is a team did not even make it out of groups, but during the LCQ, they get first place in Open. They win the first game to qualify, and it's a perfect time for them to catch fire.
You see the difference right here for Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual's team, who didn't have to misform their way off through the early game. They're able to really position themselves well now come this final zone rotates here. Aaron falls to the hands of Sphinx, so he was late on the rotate there below the surge as well. And this is where Cold, Ritual, and Peterbot are going to go from 5 or 3 elims now. Start racking things up. Let's see where they get to end this game number 4 here.
213 points. They're literally almost one more point away from overtaking that second place spot. Steel trail to Kanata, Rapid, and Bolts, though, when it comes to that leaderboard. You see them on the map right now, front side of the zone, but relatively low. Team Phaser, PH Sin, starting to create a little bit of distance between them and everybody else, but you have to be careful. You hear that exotic pistol, the shockwave effect, kind of frightening for a lot of those teams that are going to be on the high ground, as Peterbot did exactly what you said. They cleaned up another elimination from the distance.
They're picking them up. I'm looking at the distance, though. You see Kanata situating for a bit of height as well. What is going down here? Are we going to see another back-to-back here? That'd surely be an anomaly. But Bolts, Rapid, and Kanata are starting to set themselves up. Meanwhile, Ritual's team starting to rotate straight south. Curly's team making their way through a re as well. And everyone seems to be congesting up below them. Bolts, Rapid, and Kanata overextending outwards. Hungry for any type of traction here, but nothing's going to go in and reveal itself just yet. Still, 14 teams remaining here, so a lot of placing points to be earned.
Yeah, and they just started to set in, so this is where the real difference maker is. You spend all the time in this game, you cannot go down. A couple of rare missed opportunities there by Cole, but he's immediately used the misform to get out, and they overtake and throw a whole nother team out of that position. That's scared, Cole. They get forced down a whole nother layer, but Peterbot wants, Peterbot takes, and there's another example of that.
King Trio gives up the high ground as well. Look at the low ground, though. Yamzo has to play savior here. See bodies, visuals really quick. Plays around the side angle to secure the elimination. Tries to see if he can chip away at what's left for Braids and Diminish. But no, Higgs falls too. What just unfolded there? Something went terribly wrong there. Now Yamzo forced to play this one out by himself. We've already seen Yamzo do this before. Clutch up the big points in the end game here, but placement points are going to be absolutely critical for him. Luga, Threats, Crazy, staying as consistent as ever. Also, on track here, Jacob, for another big game.
That's exactly what they need. You saw the probabilities. Teams qualifying for the Global Championship. Luga slow to start out in the tournament, but they're ready to pick up that pace. Bold, Ritual, Peterbot, same thing for them. 203 when it comes to points. Sphinx, Shadow, and Muzz using that med miss, the regular old med miss, and he's doing exactly what I said. He's trying to heal both of his teammates with the one usage as Yamzo barely finds his way in. 3 HP, 50 shield, flank onto Cooper, but he missed that opportunity there, but he's still floating around, lurking for more, but he gets taken down by Muzz's trio again.
Just goes full circle for Muzz's team here. They are all well on their way to top 10 and 10 eliminations as well. Peterbot, Ritual, Cold, though, starting to make a big move here. Up for high ground they go. They get ever so closer. And this is them just kind of feeling the water out, right? How warm is it? Is it time to jump in? Here goes the men miss. This is giving them a lot of opportunity now. Also puts a lot of kind of thought and focus in on Kanata's team. What are they going to do as they know there's a team lurking beneath them? Meanwhile, Minish clutching up by himself as well, keeping his team very well in the running for a potential third place seat here on the standings. Spinks makes it out the side though. And Minish just kind of lurking by. Eating way too much Storm here, though. Someone's lurking in the cone behind him, too. He's got no idea. This form comes out. He's just trying to stay in the game right now. Still 7th place, a little net miss for him. And then a Siphon there onto Sphinx, too. And a Minute just going crazy here. Meanwhile, Cole's team is up for high ground. The island's coming into effect. Cole lands up top. Peterbot, Ritual have control of it.
And they already have that elimination cleaned up onto Kanata. They've overtaken it. Booga Threats and Craze are the ones trying to threaten underneath. Bolts, Rapid, they're the only duo left in this game. Everybody else is trios, and they're flying around. The threat of the island, the full trio goes down, but they claim another one as the knocks continue to go through. Rise is trying to interrupt this play. Booga's scrambling around. He steals away the high ground. No builds left for Peterbot, but he's still ready to take that challenge. Down goes Cold. Up he goes, but down again. The teeter-totter of emotion as Peterbot gets cleaned up. Booga falls as well. Craze's trio is all out. It's G-Money. It's Aviv. It's Rise. 3v1 situation. They have heals in the Chug Chug. They have bandages just in case. But what does Ritual have on the other side? That's going to be the difference. But his med kit gets canceled. G-Money makes the play. Him, Rise, and Aviv clutch up with 12 eliminations to win game 4.
Couldn't have called it better. A big game now for Aviv, G-Money, and Rise. Fighting their way up somehow. Just the most surprise win ever, as we didn't even see them lurking there on the low ground. They came into this game in 7th place, neck to neck with Booga Threats and Craze, and they've overcome all of the immediate competition to pull in a huge victory royale, and that surely is going to bring them up to top 5. Jacob, look at that end game right there. It just couldn't have written better for them.
Yeah, they were kind of focused on the mid layer, the high ground. Meanwhile, G-Money and V Rise said, go ahead, you guys can take it. We will be the ones that steal it away when the dust settles. Game 4 goes to them with only 2 games left. Are you excited for more, Zeke?
Dude, you know I'm always excited. Oh my gosh. Rise, G-Money, the big cheese of the victory royale. That has got to be the most chaotic game we've seen today. Oh my gosh. Finding ourselves climbing up those standings, they have got to feel so good. And with 2 games left, you know they're amped.
I mean, the best way to get a good end game is to start with a good early game. And we saw them get that big Spire, they got the exotic pistol, then we saw them rotate over into the research lab. So obviously they're getting a bunch of loot from that area as well. And to be able to just carry that into the end game as well, and to do it like ninjas, like we heard the casters say, we weren't really paying attention to the low ground in consideration of Aviv, G-Money, and Rise. But Elam after Elam, while everyone else is fighting for height, look at this. They're just able to get all these fish in a barrel, these easy Elams. I love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? Game number 1 had that fight for height just a little bit, right? Kind of created some chaos. And then games number 2 and 3, they kind of slowed down. Boom, game number 4 happens. We probably had like 4 or 5 height changes throughout the game. And Raj is just sitting there calling, hey guys, listen, they're going crazy up above us. We'll just chill down here, look up, and pick up all of these free eliminations and the victory royale. Well played by that trio.
14th, 1 elim, 5th, 6 elims, 6th, 8 elims. Now a first place with 12 eliminations, 261 points from the trio. But where does that place them on the standings? After this short break, we find out. Welcome back to the FNCS, everybody. Game number 4, Rise of Eve. G-Money get themselves a victory royale. Now, obviously, we said 261 points. That's a lot of points, but where are they on the standings? We'll find out momentarily, because the answer will shock you. It's second place. That's right, guys. After that last game, we jump up 6 placements. And now, look at the standings. I mean, guys, if you told me we were going to be just jumping all over the place in the first 4 games of NA Grand Finals, I'd have said, no, it's just going to be Beer Bomb Pollo at the top. Sort of, kind of, 50% there, but my gosh, what an impressive showing from the trio. Now, obviously, we talked about them before we kind of went to break, so we got to double back, right? We got to talk about Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot, guys. Where do we even begin? Because I feel like from the trio, this was a crazy game. We saw them contest Rift Island. We saw them sit in a building and wait for Acorn to run in. The longest con I've ever seen. I mean, so many things. They in so many ways, Kelly, they impacted just this one game.
Yeah, so smart and so prepared to not even... At first, when we saw them sitting by Foxy Floodgate with the Rift Island, I thought, oh, they're waiting for Rift Island to spawn. They're going to go for it. But then they waited. And Vivid, you were like, oh, they're waiting by the chug barrels. That's what they're doing. And sure enough, once they claimed Rift Island, Acorn drops down. They must... This is how you know that VOD reviewing and practicing and just watching what your opponents are doing, less of what you're doing, just can benefit you so much. And then, obviously, converting that into a high ground control at the very end. But obviously, so much chaos was going on that even Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold can only control so much the end game. But what a game to play.
Yeah, I mean, that's their best game so far, right? Picking up the second place right there for the trio. I almost won it. Honestly, I feel like, taking down Kanada's trio, if they would have done that a little bit more cleanly, then I think they would have went ahead and won that game right there. But as soon as they went ahead and took the higher ground, Booga and Craze, of course, playing spoiler up on the higher ground right now. And I gotta say, Zeke, the leaderboard is honestly a little bit more crazier than I feel like we're really kind of talking about, because it's like we kind of came into the day and it was like, oh man, we're playing right now with 6 trios that are qualified to the global championship. But right now, that spot is only rolling down one time because of Peterbot in first place. Second and third place right now are going to globals.
I mean, dude.
Oh, sorry, Zeke. It's just an 88-point difference between first and 8th place, which I don't know if we have ever seen it be that close. We'll see like 1st through 4th be really close, but just look how close, and look at all of the names that are here. This is NA Central. These are the biggest names that we have in NA, all fighting for the top. This is no longer about, is it Peterbot versus Pollo, or this is about who is the best in NA, and everyone is showing up right now.
And even just look, Kelly, right? 7th through 4th place, only 10 points, right? 15 if you look all the way down to 7. Like, this is like such a close race, even down to 8th. I'm sorry, I apparently can't read, but my gosh, this competition is so unbelievably close. Of course, they're Kanada. I don't know how they continue to find themselves in these situations, right? We catch them in this like surge base in 9th, and then suddenly, boom, they've got high ground. And though they didn't have eliminations, they clutch a placement in a 4th place. Like every single trio, it feels like is like maximizing. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm in a situation where I'm not going to be able to make it, but this far, they're like, cool, I'm going to do everything I can to just get every single point I can with what I have. It's just every trio is executing at such a high level right now, Kelly. I'm losing my freaking mind. I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, I think we all are right now. This is what we wanted to see, and honestly, only NA can bring it. The trios know that they had to put on a show for everyone. They want everyone excited for the global championships, Vivid, and right now, I am super excited.
Real quick, I got to highlight, right? Kanada's trio picked up that 4th place. 0 eliminations. You got no refreshes throughout that entire game, and you made it all the way to the end game. That is impressive. They're looking really, really good, and I got to, tip my hat just a little bit to Clix, Yamzo, and Hig as well for kind of making so much out of that game where they went down in the early game trying to push over towards another POI. They went down. They still kind of made something out of that game, keeping themselves inside of the top 10. Those 2 trios right now making the most out of, what sometimes seems like nothing.
Bro, the fact that they camped the zip line, dog.
That's so good.
The zip line. Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Again, it's just like, you got to just commend all of these trios doing everything they possibly can. We've got spots to global championships. We've got a lot of prize money, life-changing amount of prize money on the line right now. But with that being said, I know you want more games. Only 2 games left to go before we say goodbye for the day. So, casters, back over to you for game number 5.
We are really closing out at the end of day number 1, Monster. And Kelly said this is some of the closest Fortnite we have ever seen when it comes to first all the way down towards 8th place. It just means one bad game going down outside of the top 17. No eliminations could cost you a global championship spot.
Yeah, most definitely. And then you got to think about with game 5 here and then the second day right ahead of you, how much preparation have you prepared for this championship? Because what I'm looking at as far as the standings go, there are teams that, well, jumped into this conversation, so it can really show us that they are extremely ready for this opportunity. So let's do it one more time for game number 5. Major 3 finals, game 5 is here and it's ready to begin. Jacob, I want to pick the conversation up where I was kind of leaving off there with all of these new teams like Visuals, Braids, Diminish, Aviv, G Money, Rise, Rapid, Kanata, Bolts. It just seems like they have come with their A game prepared, and we really could see an upset championship handover for Major 3.
I know, honestly, that's perfectly said, because it almost feels like with the amount of, like, shine that was on this contested fight, Peter versus Pollo, Star versus Star, Best versus Best, Kanata went and said, you know what, I'm not even going to focus on what they are doing. We're going to focus on our game. Brings back Rapid, adds the IGL, a little bit of a brain. Kelly said it as well. Bolt's playing some of the best Fortnite he's played in a long time, probably one of the most improved players from the start of the year. And even Clicks, Higgs, and Yamzo changing up their game plan coming into this tournament. And you said Visuals, Braids, and Diminish. Coming into this tournament, I had about 4 teams I think could take the top spot. Now, I say 5, 6, 7 teams that could be a threat.
This is scary though. Aviv, G Money, and Rise still have to overcome the biggest hurdle, which is get past the drop. Now, they have been very, very consistent at doing this in the 4 games prior. However, here and now, every game leaves things up to chance. Aviv touches down first. Unfortunately, doesn't find a weapon, has to break his way through. G Money gets one here too. There goes a quick heal. Seems like Rise might kick this one off with a quick elimination. And here comes the backup for G Money and Aviv. So far, so good for the Vets.
Yeah, second time being contested here. Curve saw Rise first, reacted to him, but G Money is just waiting right behind. Gets 2 of those eliminations. And exactly what you said. This is literally the second time in a row off spawn they win their fight, and the 5th game so far they can continue to hold their spawn on the leaderboard.
It's just very, very intense. That is not an easy drop to master nor execute on. You saw how quickly the fight kind of breaks out there. There's no drawing out that draw spot like some of the others might kind of play out. Talking about that, Shadow Muzz and Sphinx have done so much damage to Bryce's trio. They are now vacant to the drop. They're like, bro, I just want to play the game. Let's get out of here. And off they go.
Yeah, it's kind of the nature of contesting. You still want to do good, still want to give yourself a chance. That global championship spot, or the incredible amount of prize money with each and every place you get higher up on that leaderboard. The Agers, Acorn, and Koyo have averaged 8.1 eliminations per game this season, the highest of any trio. And honestly, I wouldn't have necessarily expected it myself with Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual being in the lobby, especially them being contested at Demon's Domain most of this season, but it just goes to show the work that they've been putting in.
Well, this kind of begins to put other things into perspective for me. We know Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot are very likely to target their immediate competition. It almost makes you wonder, we were highlighting how prepared they were for strategies against Clix's trio or Acorn's trio. But I don't know if they had Kanata, Visuals, Booga, Muzz, right? These teams on the menu for like, what do we do when those teams are hot on our heels and have the capability or the ability to be the next champions of the Major 3. So these next couple games, I think, are going to be extremely dynamic from Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot, and we might just see them revert back to whatever their original strategy was to take the lead and run home with things.
Yeah, I just want to add to the importance of these last two games because right now we're talking about how close it actually is, 1st through 8th place for the most part. With 2 games left, all it takes is one mistake to kind of throw you out of that contention. Utopia City, they're not necessarily just fast farming, but you're seeing the strategy of Booga Threats and Craze, how they're able to get the loot out of these buildings so quickly. And coincidentally enough, by chopping out these buildings later on in the game, if the zone does come to Utopia City, that's one less place for any team to creep around and hide.
Yeah, and I think they usually leave one for themselves, you know, like, all right, we're going to chill here. But this time, they're just scrapping it all down. Talking about Rapid. See, he's setting things up for later into the game. But yeah, this overall performance from Rapid and Bolts, man, this is a team that have, it's really a duo, right, that have, I feel like, stuck by one another for maybe 2, maybe 3 years at least of history worth of competition. We've seen them alongside one another. Kanata just clearly has made the best choice in kind of upgrading his trio here.
Kind of going back even to what's familiar with the return of Rapid. But again, you see kind of the strategy of a lot of these uncontested drops. One player immediately goes up, tries to start to build that Storm Surge. The other 2 farm up, they get the loot, they get the extra heals, they throw it to the bottom of those ramps. That way there's not too much danger of trading off those shots. And we're kind of seeing how other people on other sides of the map, they don't have the luxury because of mountain ranges. They're not able to get up, set up their own surge bases. They literally have to go box to box, take a little bit of a risky fight in a risky scenario in order to try to get their damage. Aim Red uses his miss for him. All he's really trying to do is get closer and closer to his teammates so that way disaster doesn't happen.
Era's team, kind of the one that has made it past the early game, had a couple opportunities to earn placement come the mid game, so they're very much kind of in the tournament, middling amongst the others. Still looking for that breakout opportunity. HQ, VLEX, and Cyclops doing the same exact thing. Their strategy, however, slightly more consistent overall. These are the teams that are definitely those X factors, right? You let them loose in the mid game, and you never know. If they're below the surge, they give up a good fight.
Yeah, sometimes when you almost have nothing to lose is when you almost play your best. Kind of surprise yourself at times. As Donnie, Choji, and Seek, Shining Spam, they rotated towards the north at kind of hoping the zone would go back to where it was in game number 1, but it is pulling on over to the western side this time. So they look back, Taki, Isho, and Bert, a team that they know positions at the north side of the map. Just a quick couple of shots, get information, maybe even try to see them disengage and rotate on out, kind of get a feel where their pathing is going to be, because they do have a lot of open space towards the south that they could utilize that the other team does not.
So far, game 5 looking to be business as usual. Even for Peterbot, cold ritual here. Like we mentioned, when they have the lead, they tend to kind of ease up. Meanwhile, look at the feed. Not looking too good for Reef there. We'll give a little update in a couple moments. First, though, Peterbot Cold have to kind of recover here. Force early med miss, so exchange not going too great for them.
So I might be crazy, Monster, all right? So feel free to call me crazy. Say maybe I'm thinking too much into it. But have Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold been changing their outfits every single game?
I think they have been. But you know what?
And that to me is huge because you know how players like to kind of target players, that their outfits, they know exactly who is who, rotating where, especially depending on what portion of the game it is. This is definitely kind of keeping teams on their toes in a little aspect. Maybe not game-breaking, but at least it's a difference maker.
And not to mention, they haven't been in the same place twice for 5 games now. So you just don't know who exactly you are getting involved with. And that's a whole different factor you have to weigh when it comes down to taking a fight.
Changing things up again. Visuals, Raids, and a Minish. I think anytime they notice that Aegis, Acorn, and Poyo make it off spawn at Demon's Domain, it's just too much of a risk to contest that island. Aegis, Acorn, and Poyo have made it known every single game. We are going for this island. We are going for any team that goes up there. So they're just kind of letting them have it. They do have a mountain range on Foxy Floodgates itself. You see they still have loot to kind of get from underneath inside of the POI itself, and then a whole abundance of extra metal. They're just trying to stick in what got to them this far, and honestly, that's a smooth, collected game plan.
It's crazy. From this far, you can see the little pixels, like, okay, there's one on the right side. This player jumped over here, like, they're just tracking very nicely. Breed's visuals coming out ahead with a couple extra tags there. Not bad at all.
That stat was crazy. They haven't placed outside of the top 11 in any major this year. It said major 1 and 2, but let's throw major 3 in it as well, because the worst they've placed today is 7th place. They are on a run. They already have their global championship spot secured, but this is the type of run you start to be on when you start to threaten for an actual FNCS championship.
Fred keeping things interesting for us right now. Aaron's on the press here. Not looking too good for Zonda, man. He's sort of hiding out here. There it is. Wrapping up that team. Full trio wipe for Fredbot, Aaron, and Caliper here over by the Canyons Crossing. Not bad at all. But there's still one game ahead of us. It's not like the group weekends where you only get 5. This is the standard 6 and 6. Reed seems to have been picked back up. Takes his team after getting the knock. Didn't full collapse in.
I think that's one of those things. Almost a lot of players kind of know that in the back of your mind. The distance is too far, especially it's trios and not duos. You get the revive just a little bit faster. Reed Cooper Curley probably thought it was something personal between them and Clicks. That's a battle they've been going on from tournament matches to scrims. And so they realize, hey, we maybe made a mistake. We let our emotions get the best of us, and now they can have a chance to kind of pick back up, dust themselves off, play the rest of the day out, build that confidence, and kind of be like an avalanche from day 1 into day 2. You have the momentum and just let it roll its way to what could be a top spot. Shadow Muzz and Sphinx still towards the outside. This is no different than what we've been seeing so far throughout the games, especially with these South Zone pulls. This is a part of their game plan overall and how they're getting Storm Surge.
It's very interesting. They saw their opponents hit the med miss there, and now they're forced to med kit up if they want to take this fight and basically have even terms. So Sphinx makes the call out. Look at that. Initiates, cuts him off, and it's like we've seen this before. It's not looking good right now for Cole here. Sphinx is playing very, very fast. Kind of maneuvering here, but jumps into the spider's web. Doesn't matter. He manages to escape here. The first knock is on their side. Here comes Shadow for the backup. Now, I really just love to see this team perform well, especially given how much history I've seen as these players have grown over the years, especially with Shadow and Sphinx. It's almost like Muzz is just trying to keep up with the young goats nowadays.
That's just unfortunate, though. Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx, they pushed him out. They were able to get that first elimination. They forced the other 2 out, but that was enough. Smiley and their trio towards the outside. Cold landed right in the palm of their hands. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Didn't even know that full trio was there, and he goes out like a light. Luckily for them, though, I'm not sure they saw his teammate, the lone wolf that's out there now playing this one as a solo. And with the zone pulling south, I wouldn't be too surprised if they get him back in the game.
Yeah, it's like one of those things, you know, you do laundry, you find a couple dollars in your pocket, you're happy. Yep, that's what it feels like to get delivered a free elimination. Boyo Adrian's Acorn, though, sitting back up. Some prime positioning here.
Don't be worried.
Say
Don't
notice.
be worried.
Go ahead.
Oh, I would say Muzz is down. Don't be worried. They're just rotating into zone, and they're letting Muzz go down because they can get the double revive, knowing this is how we're going to save our med kits, save our med miss smoke, and only really use it if they have to. But they did find out Monty kind of sneaking around as a solo.
Oh, look at this. Bryce's team finally escaping the drop here. They get to see a little bit more of the sun on the other side of the road here, but the agent, Phaser, and King show up. Let's go ahead and clean up things. Although one may have gotten knocked here. Phaser now forced on the back heels. Bryce is still pretty healthy. King and Phaser looking for the reset. This might be a mistake allowing them to actually get their way back in, but no, they just pick up the card, and I think they're going to go in and disengage here. At 101 points, you know, they're still very much in this tournament right now.
I saw King choosing to keep the extra heals, the extra bigs that you see in his loadout, instead of that misform. I think that's an interesting decision, but a smart one overall, knowing they have to go ahead and go right back on over to Lone Wolf if they have any hope of getting their teammate back in the game. Dash, Skittles, and Bryce are making that decision to follow them through and through. They know they got that first elimination, so they know exactly what they're looking for, which is an opportunity to get that reboot.
Yeah, it's almost like King notices Phaser doesn't have one either, so he's like, all right, we ride. Let's go. And they're just tanking up here, getting ready for the fight. Gotta be careful, though. Fast rotating like this, you can still get burnt. But Bryce, Dash, and Skittles managed to get across without taking any damage. Meanwhile, Osid falls pretty quickly here to the side angle of Cold. This is just outside the brutal boxcars. I mean, guess they didn't heed the warning. Peterbot did say, anyone step foot in this area, we are gonna push you.
Oh, here we go. This is what I love to see. The Superman sprite melts through those builds. Cold gets tagged up a little bit and immediately hits the moonwalk to get back into the box with his teammate, healing up just a little bit. The advantages of being a trio here, separating your opponent. Sinetto up top, Cam down low. He's lurking around trying to get a sneaky play, but while he's lurking around, you see Peterbot feeling all the confidence in the world. He's trying to continue to pressure on over, close the distance. Sinetto gets caught by himself. Cam trying to be the hero, but he gets spotted as well by Peterbot from underneath. He's trying to go up higher and higher, but I feel like his demise is around the corner, barring any miracles.
Just a matter of time here. There it goes. Peterbot finds another one here. This trio is cooking with propane. They're at 3 eliminations now. Plenty of damage on the board and more points as they start to pad that lead. Jumping back in with Skittles, Bryce, and Dash. Well, guess what? They have officially dropped the Brazilian legends themselves. King, Phaser, PHN will have to queue back in for game number 6 here. Skittles, Bryce, and Dash find themselves 1,000 damage above the surge threshold there and well on their way to another end game here. But you know, they don't have too many heals, so we'll see if that becomes their biggest hurdle now.
Yeah, this is exactly how they found him out. Separated Phaser and King, even with the dashes. Phaser goes down, just a quick one pump because of fighting in the zone. And then they drop on the King, and the numbers is just too much. Even though he gets a down and a good shot on the dash, they're all 3 there. Just kind of closing out. And that's the thing about Dash, Bryce, and Skittles. You know, we said it yourself. They went from contesting Muzz, actually fighting it, to going on the outskirts, going for different loot. That's adaptability in its finest and right before our very eyes.
What's going on here? Forced to stay in the zone because you have how many teams above you? Is it just a single trio, it looks like? Others in the vicinity. This is going to turn from bad to worse here shortly. The zone's going to start doing a lot of damage. And there it is. The fight kind of breaks off. So, I mean, the clock is ticking here.
Probably not liking where they were in terms of Storm Surge. Trying to force the fight while they can. Immediately it turns off and they say, hey, maybe this is something we can handle later. And not as risky of a situation. You said it yourself, a huge lack of heals overall. It just means that they're on the clock when it comes to a fight like that. And if you don't win it, it's just one less game you're going to have to play. And it's only the 5th game of the day. You're going to have one left over. This is where, no matter what has happened in your tournament so far, game number 5 is where you got to start to build that confidence.
Good zone awareness there, though, to find a rotate that's going to give them no resistance. Little update now with Muzz, Sphinx, and Shadow, though. Front side of the other zone here, and they're going to go and walk their way through into some new positioning. I like this. I mean, they have the room to kind of work with here.
They're lurking around right now, not giving up any audio visual. Recooper Curly They probably know they were there at one point in time, but don't know anymore. And they do have that yoink shotgun underneath. They can pull players towards them to try to get the full box. Rise, G-Money, and Deep, keeping their hot streak of back-to-back outpost contested drops. They win those. They're stretching it far into these end games. It's only top 20 for now, but you can see over 1,000 damage above the threshold, full loadouts, even exotics, heals on top of that, and different dash sprites for mobility. So they're set up and ready to go no matter what this game throws at them.
A lot of players coming out of the canyon, crossing deep inside the storm there. That's a surprise. Uga Threats, though, operating as a duo right now. So Lost, teammate in the sauce there, but Noxie lands right in front of the box here. Threats and Booga have to give this one up. 228 points as well. And how consistent they've been so far. This is by far, in a way, their worst game. And then the zone pool's so far away now. You're going to have players like Vera and Noxie who likely need damage, looking to kind of press the issue here. Booga, though, cleans up Vera. Singular tag. Storm Surge does the rest. Who's left? Noxie. He knows he's got this advantage here. They don't even seem like they want to wait him out. They want to go and push this fight, get it wrapped up quickly. They got to go, though.
Yeah, especially since they are a duo on this rotation. They don't have that third player to alleviate any of the pressure on the way over. So they have one of the max pulls on top of that. Timing is of the essence, but Noxie is there by himself. And they're going to continuously kind of look back on their way through this rotation to try to cash him and track him. Maybe try to get the elimination later as Veer does go down. Noxie was able to misform, and that's how he was able to escape. But not everyone has that luxury.
Little update with Bolton. Rapid. No Kanata here as well. Okay, so a couple top teams fractured. Down and out. Key players here so far. Acorns trio seems to be pretty healthy, positioned right across from Bolton Rapid here. But if there's a duo that can do it, this is definitely one of them who've played so well so far. This game, they were positioned third coming into things. Look at Threats and Booga just waiting it out, and they were like, hey, you know what? We want that Elam. We need those builds. Thank you, nom nom. Noxie gets deleted.
Had a feeling that was going to happen. 920. And is that them? No, that's a full tree. I was about to say, that team that's just on the south side of the map, if anybody is a duo and missing anybody, and the zone pulls towards the north, there is a lone reboot van down there on the south that could come in handy depending how reward you're willing to go ahead and take it. As Muzz gets it down on H-Cube in the distance, clicks Yamzo Higgs, sees a lot of action going down, and they wanted to take part in that one, but that's cold. That's Ritual Peterbot, the ones they're focusing on over in that side of the zone. Even with the men miss smoke going down, it's causing at least a little bit of distractions.
Yeah, I think if anything, it's causing a target. They're like, wait a second, is that team weak? No, they're not. However, does end up attracting a couple shots right there. Old Ritual Peterbot survived the storm. 5 Elams right now. Front side of this next rotate here. An extra misform there to work with, so they'll be just fine. Here's a replay of how it all went down. You find H-Cube's team trying to play the med miss here on the front side of zone, waiting for things to rotate through, but they leave them no time.
And H-Cube wasn't even the original down. That's just awareness over 9,000 because it was Muzz that actually gets the elimination credit for that one, but they just get all the spoils of that battle, all the loot and more. As Poyo ages Acorn back in the game after, the games 3 and 4, one of them being contested, one of them being lurked and snuck up on. Not necessarily the moments they thought they were going to have, but in here, this is where you have to start to pick up the pace, make up for that lost time, because they have almost a 60-point lead after the games.
This is what's really interesting. You start leaving Acorn's team to their own vices, and they make it to another endgame. One of the most consistent. G-Money, Rise, and Aviv also finding their consistency as well. They have such a good footing on the lobby right now. They're right in between Clix's trio, right in between Peterbot's team as well. Here comes the rotates. They go dashing out across, but Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual are just adding up more and more to the tally here. 6 Elims now. As we're approaching the end game, this is going to give them a little bit more material to work with here.
And the thing is when they're in this type of flow state, Monster, you're not going to beat them by matching them placement for placement. We've already seen that through last major. You're going to have to get eliminations to close that gap, because that's exactly what they're doing to kind of extend their lead game after game, even the ones that they don't necessarily win. It's their consistency to pick up those eliminations that matter. As Mason, Golden, and Chimp up above, they're going to be on the high ground for now. You see them extending over, spending as lot of materials here in the 9th zone to try to keep it intact.
Comes with rotate, nice little misformer on the outside, trying to catch up with Rapid. Just gotta let them in. There it is. They got themselves a nice layer to go ahead and work with here. Meanwhile, look at Rise, G-Money, and Aviv. Just in full control right now. Flix's team is on their layer. Another team, Rituals Trio, on the opposite side there too. Things are starting to heat up here. Agers caught on the backside of the rotate, so that's one down.
Something you don't necessarily see every day is them kind of getting separated and kind of jumped on in those tight situations. It's cold. Peterbot Ritual, they cut off the path, and it did look like they were looking for. The zone continues to open up. They may not be on the high ground, but they're just controlling the tempo down below, claiming all that space, 2-3 boxes wide, and they're staying hip to hip just in case anybody breaks into this box. They can all pounce and attack together, but spray is coming in from all directions, front of the zone, behind them as well. Shadow forcing Peterbot to just disengage away from Ritual and play as individuals.
Gotta keep turning up here though, even though they're hurt. They're inside the top 10 now, and this is where we start to see Peterbot do Peterbot things. Keys his way into the box. Already clearing out the low ground layer. Cole starting to reset, but has to turn. Finds a little tag there. Peterbot follows up to clean things up. Ritual, though, carrying his own as well as things are heating up here on the low ground. Meanwhile, Bolt's playing the backside of zone. I see Acorn and Boyo still alive. Clixianto Higgs might be the only healthy, strong trio in the low here.
And they got a couple of extra heals in their back pocket, but no, Higgs goes down. You see him immediately dropping over that loop, giving the upgrade on over to Clix. He's getting forced further and further back. Clix trying to peek a shot, doesn't want to give it up for free, doesn't have a lot of materials here. 3 builds left, but he's able to get the knock onto G Money, but his buck comes to an end. He gets taken down. That was another big elimination in a tight moment, but he is also left by himself. Peterbot, with 5 eliminations as a solo, has to continue to go big.
He takes down Aim Red, takes down Clicks, and he's still going. Meanwhile, Muzz, 5 elims right now, playing as a solo right now. This is the best Fortnite we've seen from him in any major in quite some time. And then he follows up onto Rise and just deletes him before he can even react. And just like that, he'll finish inside the top 8. Peterbot still at it though. You cannot count him out, and he is maintaining the lead here on his own, literally putting the team back on his back, as is Ziamzo. In 5th place now though, Jacob, he is still working his way through, and he's not out yet.
Yeah, there's 7 missing players away from teams. Angel's able to get the elimination onto Boyo. Acorn goes down as well, so they outplace him yet another game, even though there's not too many placement points, being the difference maker here. But Peterbot popping his minis. He knows he has the misform. The Chug Jug in the back pocket as well. Final 3, 2 of them running around as solos. Peterbot goes down. Yamzo, the last solo left alive, challenges the 3v1, but it's a challenge he will not win. That's Golden. That's Chip. That's Mason out of nowhere to win the game.
They finally found their opportunity, and they seized a win and take the day. Game number 5. Well played for Chimp's trio. We almost had them out of the race for a moment there, but they said, give us a second. Let us cook. Well played for them, but the amount of solos there too, though, in that end game, Jacob, was really keeping things interesting. I mean, you had Yamzo, you had Peterbot, you had Acorn, all lurking on the low ground. What a game.
It definitely was, and with all of that kind of chaos you're talking about going down, they just immediately take the high ground and don't really get contested any step of the way through this end game, taking down solos, letting them do the work, and eventually Yamzo did go for the challenge, but it's just too little, too late. A big game from them, from 18th place, flying up the leaderboard. Where do they land? Don't worry, Zeke will tell us.
I can't spoil it that quick. All right, Jacob. We gotta take a look at the standings after the break. Then we'll take a look. Hold on. My gosh, though, the trio. This felt like the game like 2 ago, right? Where we had the trio on height. They laid out the triple tarps, right? And then the zone just kept pulling back over their builds. At that point, right, it's just on this trio. Hey, we just gotta just be calm, cool and collected. Zoe's down there solo. Peterbot's down there to solo. They'll clean up the lobby for us. We just got to be there at the end. And that's all they did, right? They really just played this out very textbook. And with these other, like, incredibly immovable forces just cleaning up the low ground for you, it's like, oh, yeah, you guys got it. Keep on fighting down there. It's all good.
Mason, Golden, and Chimp already proved themselves in Group 2 when they grabbed the 3rd victory royale, and there were some big names there that they were able to beat out. So to see them be able to continue that momentum into the grand finals, that's what I love to see. 11 eliminations is definitely going to have them sitting pretty in our leaderboard.
Yeah, obviously we're kind of seeing a pattern up on the higher ground for most of the games today, right? The team that's up on the higher ground, nobody's really looking up right there. And honestly, that was just a matter of fact, the lobby as it currently stood, right? We were going through some of those end zones and it was like, wow, everybody seems like they're a solo or a duo. Nobody really had the firepower behind them to contest. And like Zeke said, there was just so much mats up there, right? It was like the triple layer of cone, so hard to do anything about it in the first place, but just well played from Golden, Chimp, and Mason.
That's right, man. I'll go ahead and spoil it. They're 9th place, but what does the rest of the standings look like? Let's find out after this short break.